As most of y'all already know, I'm a serial rich man dater. I don't date brokies. One of the most common reasons people feel like they're addicted to food is because they don't actually eat enough.
Losing weight is not healthy. It doesn't benefit your physical health in any way, shape, or form.
If you ask someone why they think being fat is bad and they tell you it's because it's unhealthy, immediately stop listening to anything else they have to say.
I know, you guys, it was just last week that I was here telling you all that Fierce Fat Femme was the opposite of my comfort creator, right? That creator that pops up on your For You page. You don't really love them, but you just can't look away from their content. It is the ultimate train wreck. You have to watch it, okay? And when I said that, I fully meant it. I still stand by it. But I also had forgotten completely about antidietpilot. Honestly, the two of them are probably tied for first when it comes to my uncomfort creators. Both are just so incredibly bad. But I do think that antidietpilot has a slight lead on Fierce Fat Femme for reasons you'll see in this video. I think the reason that I'd mostly forgotten about antidietpilot is that she did not pop up on my For You page for a very long time, and so I just assumed that she had all but disappeared, which appears to be partially true.
I've been wanting to come back to TikTok for a very long time, but I told myself until I was ready to talk about this, I would not come back.
But mostly the reason I wasn't seeing her on my For You page was because I actually caught yet another block.
Another one. Another one. Another one.
And when I realized this, I had a good little laugh to myself because, you guys, I feel like at this point I am just collecting them like trophies. They are badges of honor over here on the channel. I can't help myself. They're like Pokemon and I gotta catch them all, okay? But the little laugh was because it especially tickles me when I catch blocks from creators who are often claiming that they do not care about their haters. Or that they love that their haters are obsessed with them.
Did someone make a video about me? Y'all really are obsessed with me. And I love it.
I don't think obsessed is the right word in this scenario because obsessed implies that there's some sort of like admiration or fixation. And I can promise from my end that neither of those things are true in this scenario. I would describe it more like a morbid curiosity. I just can't help myself because watching antidietpilot's content is like watching a slow motion ethical train wreck. You just can't look away. If you've never met antidietpilot before and never heard of her, let me just do a little brief introduction for you, okay? This is a human being who has used their platform to openly brag about committing credit card fraud against her dates.
A little update, it's been 4 orders and this man still has not said anything. Anyways, I ordered so much food that they gave me 2 forks. I mean, I did order a lot, maybe. I'm hungry. Sup, hungry bitches. I don't know how many weeks it's been, but I'm still ordering from DoorDash for free. For legal reasons, I can't disclose why.
She has gone viral several times for complaining about and refusing to tip service workers, despite continuously posting about her supposed wealth. She also continues to tell fat people they should stay fat and that being fat doesn't have risks, all for views, despite never living in a morbidly obese body herself. And now, after years of calling out everyone else for being fat-phobic, she came back to the internet to announce that she is taking a GLP-1. That's right. After years of yelling into the internet voids about how everyone and everything is fat-phobic, antidietpilot is now taking a GLP-1 medication. Let's take a look at how we've arrived where we are today, because even though antidietpilot is without a doubt the worst human being, in my opinion, that I've ever talked about here on my channel, I still think that this conversation deserves a little bit of nuance. But before we get too far into it, because we are about to get way too far into it, I just want to pause and say hello to anyone returning to the channel. It's so nice to see your faces. I'm glad to have you back here with me again this week. If you are new here and this is the first time you are seeing my face, welcome. My name is Sam and I make weekly videos dissecting internet nonsense just like this. So if you're into this video or you like that style of content, I hope that you'll consider liking and subscribing because it does really help out the channel and we would love to have you as a part of our community. So the oldest video I can find on her TikTok platforms is from May of 2021. She is in a visibly smaller body than she is now, and she is documenting what she eats every day, including the fact that she often finds herself overindulging in things like ice cream and Fiber One brownies. She'll use her account for the first few months to talk about her issues with overeating and also her struggle and path to learning intuitive eating. It's very clear in these early videos that she's really struggling with restriction and a fear of eating too much. In her first year, she was working really hard toward her recovery, and it seemed to be working for her. In her 1-year recap, she looked so excited to have been figuring it out.
It has been officially 1 year and 3 weeks since I went into recovery for my year. And I was trying to reflect on the biggest changes that I've made in the past year. And hands down, the most important thing that I have learned thus far on my journey is that there's absolutely nothing intuitive about intuitive eating. I swear to God, the moment I accepted that and actually understood what that meant, the easier my recovery was.
And what we end up seeing is that after that year of her recovery, once she hits that mark, she will graduate herself from a student to a teacher, and she will start using her content to parrot their talking points about how bad the diet and fitness industries are, but also how nearly everything is fat phobic.
Serious question. Is intentionally losing weight diet culture?
The answer is yes, every single time. Here's the uncomfortable reality. If you have an intense fear of weight gain or becoming fat, it would be literally impossible for you to not be fat phobic. That doesn't make sense. If fat people had healthy lifestyles, they wouldn't be fat. That would be true if we actually had control over the size of our body, but research suggests that we actually don't.
This was new for Antidietpilot, right? Obviously a shift in her content, but I have to say not unexpected. Again, she told us who she was following. And these talking points are particularly popular amongst health at every size thinfluencers, as I've deemed them here on the channel. If you're curious who those are, there's a bunch of them, but particularly I'm thinking about Sammy over at Find Food Freedom, Laura Giesi, and even the Jock Scientist. As you all know, the reason I call them the health at every size thinfluencers and the reason they get under my skin so much is they all have really had struggles with restrictive issues in the past. And they take that and their issues with that, and they use it to generalize weight gain and what it means to be overweight, despite most of them never being overweight. Okay, Jock Scientist, I think, is the only one who has actually experienced what it's like to be overweight. And that is why these creators would have been appealing to Antidietpilot, right? She is in the same exact boat that they were. And now here she is parroting them, using their same sort of overgeneralizations about weight loss and weight gain, and very confidently sharing medical misinformation. It would not take a very long time for her to develop very strong feelings about anyone who decided that they wanted to lose weight. And just like her peers in this new space in fat acceptance, she thought, let me go ahead and vocalize exactly how I feel about plus-size creators losing weight, likely to my very plus-sized audience.
I'm going to take the heat since no one else will, and I'll talk about this. The fact that there are influencers who built gigantic followings based on their conversations around body positivity, healing your relationship with food and with exercise, who have now done a complete 180 and are now talking about weight loss medications, weight loss surgeries, and just like being on a weight loss journey in general, literally just making coffee or eating their fucking breakfast, talking about the shit is insane. That should literally be illegal. The fact that there's one particular influencer who built over 300,000 followers talking about her ED recovery journey and is now every single day talking about the fact that she's intentionally losing weight to those same exact followers. You have to be out of your God. My brain I can't wrap my head around. Like, I've had to unfollow so many of my mutuals because this behavior is just so despicable. I really thought that the people in my mutual circle were the real ones. You're fake.
First, I really love that she says, I guess I'll take the heat here since nobody else wants to talk about it, because literally everyone was talking about it, right? There has not been a plus size influencer who has been able to lose any amount of weight, even the smallest amount, without hearing about it and being attacked by their mutuals and their peers, okay? Literally everyone has been on their case since day one, so this is kind of a moot point. Besides that, what I truly find fascinating here is the way that this video really showcases how close-minded she is. She has such a narrow view of what it means for people to heal their relationships with food, with exercise, with their body image. And it's just kind of interesting to watch, especially because she has also said this.
To remember that what's healthy for one person's body isn't going to be healthy for another. So if the version of health you picked is no longer serving you, it's probably time to explore other options.
So despite her knowing that what heals one may not heal another, somehow she still thinks it should be illegal for people to learn more about themselves, to grow, and to change. Spoiler alert.
I knew talking about being on a GLP-1 would ruffle some people's feathers, or posting content about my progress of being on a GLP-1 would maybe hurt some people. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know, I can't please everyone, but I tried to do this the best that I could.
Okay, hold on. We're not quite there yet. We can't get there just yet. I still have a few more points, but I promise we're getting there. As I kind of alluded to earlier, I have always found Anti-Diet-Pilot's content to be fairly interesting because it always comes across as though she's trying to convince herself that she is on the right track, but also convince herself that she is superior to the people she views as less well-researched than she is, if that makes sense. I think she needs the validation, and that's why she seeks it on these platforms. And she has always been able to find it in these body positive, fat liberation, health at every size influencer spaces. So shortly after she made that video calling out her mutuals, she would also make this statement.
I don't care how hard the Ozempic girlies try to shove that shit down my throat. I will never go down a path of intentional weight loss ever again. The weight has gone up, but so has my income, my quality of life, my self-confidence, and everything in between. My self-esteem was so low, I let men treat me like garbage, do the bare minimum, and now, because of body positivity, body neutrality, and feeling confident in my self-worth, the men I date today give me princess treatment because I demand it. Literally, food, my body, and exercise were the only things I ever thought about. Now that I'm not so consumed with those thoughts, I get to focus on life, my friends, what I'm doing next year, where I want to go this weekend. There's also so much research that shows how bad dieting is for our bodies. I would never do that to my body ever again. People could really benefit from differentiating how they feel from how they look. One has to do with health, the other has to do with vanity. In my opinion, dieting is just an illusion of something that will get you a better life. It doesn't actually make your life better. It's miserable. Ask anyone who's currently dieting. It fucking sucks. So why do it? Health at every size. Go research it. Love you.
Now, is it just me, or does it sound like she's trying to genuinely convince herself that this is what she believes? Because when you really listen, she is admitting she's seeing enough Ozempic content on her feeds that it's starting to affect her. Because if it wasn't, she wouldn't be making a video, okay? But the important thing to keep in mind here is that we build our own algorithms. So she is clearly watching, interacting, or consuming that content in one form or another. Because if she weren't, it wouldn't continue to pop up. And yet here she is using her platform to try to convince herself that there's some sort of they who, quote, are trying to shove this down her throat. As the story continues, it would be early 2025 where we would see antidietpilot take a very short break from social media, just maybe about 3 weeks or so, before she came back in May of 2025 to announce to her followers that she was now taking a GLP-1.
I'm on a GLP-1, and I know some people are gonna feel very hurt or confused or be like, bitch, what the fuck? I also would probably say the same thing. I've been wanting to come back to TikTok for a very long time, but I told myself until I was ready to talk about this, I would not come back because I did not want to be a dishonest bitch like some of these other people, no names. I don't want to trigger anyone. And if seeing somebody on a GLP-1 is not good for your mental health, like, I'm letting you know now. I want to just first of all say that I did not get on GLP-1 for weight loss. I have an underlying medical condition. I'm not going to go into detail, but it was prescribed by my doctor. I remember sitting in the doctor's office being like, this stupid fatphobic bitch. Like, I genuinely thought she was just being fatphobic because I'm telling her I'm having these symptoms, and she's like prescribing me a weight loss medication. Like, what the fuck? I just felt like I was so angry at the time. But I came home, did my own research. Because of my symptoms, I was like so desperate at the time. I was like, I need relief. So like, if I just try this and it doesn't work, my insurance covers it, like no harm, no foul. After 4 weeks of being on the GLP-1, I was eating 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I worked with a dietitian for a little bit in the beginning. I am mindful about my protein. I'm not like, you know, I try to get over 100 grams a day, but like, honestly, I just eyeball it and I don't hit it every day and I don't care. I try to get 25 grams of fiber, but that's a goal I've had before the GLP-1, and then just trying to drink a lot of water, electrolytes, things like that. So in that regard, like eating wise, I don't really feel like it changed a lot. It did change like the way that I crave food. Like, I don't crave like fast food and stuff like that anymore. Now I would much rather cook than like go out to eat. So I think that's like the biggest change. I don't really get any side effects. There's no like constipation, vomiting, diarrhea, nausea. I don't know. I don't get any of those symptoms. I just get a little dehydrated when I haven't had enough water. I was just really struggling trying to figure out how to come back and talk about this. I've also been experiencing like a lot of cognitive dissonance and feeling like a hypocrite or like a failure. I think almost exactly a year ago, I went viral talking smack about GLP-1s and how all these people are going on GLP-1s for weight loss and just like pretending like nothing fucking happened. I think my body has definitely changed since being on a GLP-1. So it is something that's been kind of like hard for me because I'm like, oh, I'm feeling better and I'm losing weight. With my experience, I'm starting to like link those two again, and I don't want to like go back into that mindset of like I need to be as small as possible in order to be healthy. You know, I have really good friends, really good mutuals that I talk to and confide in all the time, and I think I'm staying pretty good. I have like one friend that I know would literally slap the shit out of me if I like was going back into like diet culture. So it hasn't happened yet, so I'm assuming that I'm doing okay. I think the biggest thing for me is that I don't know what the future of my account is. I really just want to be able to post whatever I want. So that's why I'm making the disclaimer. I don't think I'm going to be doing like, hey guys, I lost X amount of pounds this week. Like, I don't think I'm going to be doing anything like that. It doesn't interest me, and there's already a bunch of people that already do that on GLP-1s on this app. But I think it would be really beneficial. I know a lot of people that followed me because they had issues with BED, and I would love to, you know, share my experience and how it's literally made those urges and that like mindset around food like completely vanish. It's been such a godsend, and yeah, I know some people are not going to understand, and I totally get it.
First and foremost, I would like to state for the record, it's my opinion. I really think that influencers need to focus less on their mutuals and confiding in them and what they're doing, and more on working on themselves in therapy, okay? Because the things that she is talking about being worried about, right, slipping into old bad habits, those old mindsets, those are things that she should be properly worried about. Those are alarming. And she should be talking to a professional about them and working through that to make sure she doesn't fall into those old patterns. And what she says to her audience here is, well, my mutuals have my back. How about we focus on working with professionals and not internet strangers? The thing that I found to be the most enlightening about this entire video was her describing her process of getting prescribed this medication and the way that she just was angry and assumed the worst in her doctor. She was angry and defensive and ready to write it off until she did her own research. And then she was like, maybe this doctor is on to something. The reason that this stood out to me is because it's a direct contradiction to all of her previous content, as well as her mutuals content. This entire online ecosystem has built itself around fear-mongering when it comes to medical professionals. They teach their followers to assume malice before understanding, especially when weight is mentioned. They've made it seem as though doctors bring up weight arbitrarily or out of bias rather than a potential avenue, often the least invasive one, to address certain symptoms. And here's the thing that's extremely frustrating about this, is that these influencers, antidietpilot included, have done this. They've talked all this big talk about medical bias and how doctors are evil and malicious and bad and fat phobic. And what they rarely do is offer their audience actionable items that they can use to actually advocate for themselves. So instead of saying, hey, if your doctor brings up weight and you find that to be triggering, first of all, tell your doctor. Don't just hold that in. Talk to them. If they still think that weight loss is the best and less invasive option, tell them that you need help. Ask them for a referral to a dietitian or to a specialist or to someone that can help with your unique circumstances. Instead, they just make people afraid to go to the doctor at all. Like that is some form of empowerment. Watching her realize, after she'd done her own research, that her doctor was not trying to be malicious and they were trying to be helpful was interesting, because she realized that, but brushed past the accountability that she should have taken, because it's her messaging and her peers' messaging that are feeding into this problem. And her blowing past that without taking any accountability was extremely telling to me. I also think that it's extremely interesting that she used extremely hateful language, not only to talk about her own doctor, who is a female, but also about other female content creators. They really do hate other women, don't they? And then, after her announcement that she was taking a GLP-1, she would go ahead and do the very thing that she hated, do a full 180 on her content and her previous messaging, and post what her audience called a literal before and after video. But don't worry, she has an explanation for that.
I knew talking about being on a GLP-1 would ruffle some people's feathers, or posting content about my progress of being on a GLP-1 would maybe hurt some people, and I totally get that. I know it's not gonna be everyone's vibe. That is why I posted a video saying, hey guys, I'm on a GLP-1, and I pinned it to my profile, because I do not want anyone who feels like that would be unhealthy for them to watch that. But I also want to disclaim that I probably could have put this in the caption, but I didn't. I'm specifically talking about the inflammatoriness of my face in the before photo. You guys, a GLP-1 will literally get rid of every ounce of excess water in your body. You will not be inflamed on this medication. It's like genuinely impossible. So what I'm specifically talking about is the change in my face. I'm probably not going to disclose whether or not I've lost weight or how much weight I've lost. I could change my mind at any point, but right now I don't feel like I'm going to be doing that. Some people won't understand, but when you lose your face temporarily and then all of a sudden you have your face back and you look in the mirror, every time you look in the mirror, it's like you recognize yourself again. For so long, I felt like I didn't recognize myself, and all of a sudden I'm recognizing myself again, and that is priceless, okay? And I wanted to share it on the internet. I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I know I can't please everyone, but I tried to do this the best that I could.
I love watching her try to garner grace from her audience, right? This is the same person who could offer zero grace to other women who were also trying to lose weight. I'm sorry, Not lose weight, right? Lose the inflammatoriness of their faces. Yeah, that bit just tickled me. Like, how are you going to come on the internet and say that you are not doing this for weight loss or intentional weight loss or anything like that, but then seek praise for your face being thinner? Because that's exactly what she's doing, but she's doing it and trying to do it with a loophole, right? A technicality, because it's just water weight. What in the excuses is this? Because it's giving Nikocado avocado.
All these people in my comments here on TikTok say that, oh, it's not water weight, you're delusional, it's fat. It's just water weight. If it wasn't water weight, could I do this?
But in all seriousness, the thing here for me is that this moment, again, is just extremely telling. Not just about her, but about the performance that so many of these influencers are finding themselves trapped in when it comes to body positivity, fat liberation, and fat acceptance. She has spent so much time and energy trying to distance herself from weight loss culture, from fat phobia, from anything that might make her look like she's choosing to change her body. But now that she's on a GLP-1, she is scrambling to try to stay on the right side of the conversation. It's a lot of mental gymnastics to stay publicly righteous while reaping the benefits of the very thing she used to condemn. And what's wild is the way that she hated on other content creators when they dared change their relationship with food, with exercise, with their body. Even just changing their content was enough to send her over the edge. But now she's sorry. Now she wants forgiveness. And most importantly, now she gets it. And that's why this conversation and this video is a little bit hard for me, right? Because again, things aren't always black and white. There's a lot of nuance here. What I can see now that I couldn't see before is that anti-dietpilot needed fat acceptance rhetoric. She needed it to survive, to get through and to break a very negative thought pattern, to rewrite her internal script so that she was not the bad guy for eating food, and to convince herself that food was not her enemy. And even now, I struggle because I can see that she's still evolving. She's now hitting a point where she's kind of breaking out of that, right? It helped get her to where she needed to be with herself. And now her doctor is helping her even further. Because even throughout that journey where she was just learning herself and that she should treat herself well, she still had issues with food noise. Now, she could have other medical issues. I don't know anti-dietpilot, so I don't know her whole background. But we do know she has food noise because she has told us repeatedly. So of course a GLP-1 is helping her and is going to help her lose weight. Because that's what it's for. It's a tool to help people reestablish and redefine their relationships with food and exercise and their bodies. But she spent so much time and energy trying not to see that. So much time and energy attacking other women who were just trying to figure themselves out, who were just trying to do the same thing she's doing now. She never once stopped to think about what those plus-size influencers might have been going through when they chose to lose weight. For all she knew, they could have gained 100+ pounds in a very short period of time from stress or illness or a medication they were put on. Anything could cause that to happen. And maybe, just maybe, like her now, they were trying to re-find themselves. Maybe they were looking in the mirror and no longer recognizing who they were. But they were not given the same grace that she is now asking for. And I think that that's the part that really sticks with me, because it is really easy to demand grace, but giving grace, it's incredibly difficult. Now, one last thing that I feel like is important that I state pretty explicitly. I am genuinely happy that Anti-Diet-Pilot has found something that works for her food noise, and that genuinely makes her feel better. No one should have to struggle with food noise, and she has a long history of struggling, so I'm glad that this is helping her. I think I am genuinely curious to see how she'll move forward with her content. I think I would be interested in her content, maybe a little less as a train wreck if she did talk more about the food noise and those specific things, but she's always been real focused on the vanity aspects, so I'm curious to see where we'll go from here, because she's already kind of struggling, saying twice that she's not going to talk about the amount of weight she's losing, but then already having a video where she's mentioned weight and then very poorly edited it out of the video.
Good morning. It's actually the afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. I've been in my new place for a day and a half, so sorry if it's echoey. I'm doing my injection today. I've officially been on Zepbound for 8 weeks, and my biggest happiness, well, there's two things, but the first is that I feel like I have my face back. Like, I have my face back. Like, this is my face. This is how I remember it. And not having as like much inflammation and shit is just making me feel so much better. I just finished week 8 and I've lost,
It's almost as if she's testing the waters of an entirely new niche. All right, that is all I have for you all today. At this point, as always, I am genuinely curious to know what you think about all of this madness, because Anti-Diet-Pilot is probably one of the most prolific of the thinfluencers. She has been very loud. She's gone viral several times, just calling people fat phobic, clearly talking about the Ozempic girlies, just generally being a bad human being. So I'm very curious to know how you feel about her. Did you see her announcement that she was on a GLP-1? What do you think about her announcing she was on a GLP-1 after making content for the last year trash talking the Ozempic girlies? Was she always bound to be on this sort of path? Do you think we'll see her shift into full-blown GLP-1 content? Will she start sharing her weight loss? It appears that she's going to try to remain a fat ally. She's made a couple more fat phobia videos. How long do you think that will last? I am so genuinely curious to know what you guys think, and you always come so prepared. You have great opinions, so I hope that you'll share them with me in the comment section down below. You know I'll be there reading them shortly after this video goes up. And for all my introvert friends out there who may not feel comfortable leaving your opinion in an internet comment section, I see you. Go ahead and leave me some sort of money emoji this week, because boy oh boy does Anti-Diet-Pilot really love flaunting her wealth and her money and talk about how she doesn't want a broke man and all of that jazz. It's one of the reasons she's my train wreck creator, you guys. It's insanity a little bit. But the one thing she always reminds me of is that despite her wealth, money cannot buy you character, class, or care. So go ahead, leave me those dollar sign emojis. And as always, thank you all so much for being here with me this week. I will see you in the next one. Bye.